That's excuse me. That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, coming to you live from the lab. CP3 as always. Robbie G from the Man Cave. Episode 268. Another week in DC sports. Another week close to the playoffs for the Capitals. Another subpar week for the Nationals. And we had some NBA talk to cover these playoffs that I heard have been pretty dull, but I'm sure the NBA folks will make it more exciting for you tonight. Robbie G, Anna K, how are y'all doing tonight?
Sure. We're doing really well. Anna and I did a really fun podcast on Saturday together with Gil, did a live version of the Power Play Point podcast, and we had Casey on as a special guest, and it was really kind of cool to have an extended 2-hour hockey talk. We went over some of the games that we'll go over again tonight. We also looked ahead to the Toronto game and this week, but we also talked about how important the world's oceans are, and we still have the charity link for people that are watching live on Twitch. You can see here they've already raised $2,710 through the Raid Train, through all the musical people, but also our podcast. And I was also on We Speak English Goods podcast last night. We also raised some money there as well, and we'll keep the link open tonight. I will update the link, and if anybody gives, please let us know in chat, and we'll give you a quick shout out on air and stuff like that. So it was a really a fun weekend, and it was. I'm really happy that we got that conversation. If people want to know more about Ocean's Harmony, we talk a lot about it in that podcast. I won't spend a lot of time today talking about it, but please go back, and if you're on Twitch right now, you can check out that VOD. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also on the Power Play Point podcast. It's on their page if you click podcast partners on our website for the audio version of it. It's also on our Facebook Live section of SportsOTHP on Facebook. So you can catch it a lot of different ways. I really encourage people to help support this great cause to save our oceans. So that's me on my Earth Day weekend, week, or month soapbox. But it's been a really interesting up and down week for the Capitals, as you mentioned, Carol. It's been a pretty down week for the Nationals. We'll also talk about the exciting NBA playoffs, but it should be a really fun night tonight to talk with you both. And I'm going to share this to a couple of different Caps groups right now while you guys get going on it. But Anna, how was your weekend, and how are you doing?
I'm good. I know I said before I was tired, and Robbie, you were right. We all rally now that we're live. Yeah. But I'll tell you, Monday, the last month of school is just, it's brutal. But it's all good. You know what? Can't complain with the weather. I had some hammock time. And then I thoroughly enjoyed being a participant for Ocean Harmony on Saturday. It was, what an amazing cause. I made my donation, and I feel so great about that. And so hopefully more people will.
I saw that donation, so I thank you very much. I also made a donation myself, so we encourage other people to do that as well. It is a really good cause. It's based out of Australia. You can find out more information if you're watching on Facebook, in the description, also on Twitch. If you do !OH, you'll get more information about it as well. So without further ado, Carol, do we want to break in with the news, or do you want to talk about that in the game that it happens with Ovechkin?
We might as well go ahead and talk about it after. We can have our conversation after we do.
Okay, that's fine. I just, it is the biggest story. So I just wanted to know if you wanted to lead with it or we could talk about it in that part. And that's totally a fine answer. Let's have Anna then get into the first game, which was during your conversation last week. Yep. I thought we should just recap the whole game. And it was a great game anyway. And then I get a chance to discuss it with you a little bit further.
Yeah, that's perfect. And Carol, by the way, congratulations on I think it was 2 car sales recently.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
that's fantastic. I'm always pulling for you. I'm always telling people at work because some of them have up and coming drivers. I'm like, I've got somebody for you. Let me know.
You definitely send them my way.
Yes. So Carol and I last week went live, Robbie, when you were on your fantastic vacation, not jealous at all, when the Caps were playing the Avalanche. So Hathaway scores first at 4:02, assisted by Larson and Schultz. And then we have Colorado scoring at 17:05 to tie it up. The captain gets number 48, and the only goal in the second, which was a power play goal assisted by Kuzi and Carlson. Third period, the Avalanche tie it up, but thankfully Mojo scores at 10:46 for a 3-2 win. And I'm going to just say it, this was 60 minutes of hockey, and I loved everything about this game, especially against a team like the Avalanche.
I'll let Carol go next, yeah.
Yeah, this definitely was an impressive game. The way that Colorado can score at will, the fact that they, kept them at bay, held them low shots. I believe they only got 4 shots off on those periods. This was, one of the more impressive victories of this season, if not the 3 most impressive victory with the competition, with them, chasing the President's Trophy. They're one of the best teams in the league. This was, I was happy to see the way this team came out and was dedicated to playing defense. The whole 200-foot, they were shutting down the passing lanes. They were blocking shots. They were hustling. They was going after the loose pucks. They was aggressive on the forecheck, where it got to the point where you could tell Colorado was looking over their shoulder. They was going to the board, so they were trying to see who was going to hit them next. So yeah, it was definitely a statement win for this team and proved their impressive and league road record. Colorado is the best home team in the league, and the Washington Capitals are the best road team, and strength against strength, and Capitals came out on top. So that definitely was a confidence builder for this team, and to see what happens when you play a full game, hustle, going out there and putting it all on the line for all 60 minutes, because that's what it's going to take to play of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a really complete game. I got to watch it in Texas, as we were talking about, and I was really impressed by the effort throughout the whole entire game. It was just a great back and forth game. And one thing we haven't really talked about too much is no East Coast team has gone there and won in regulation. And the Capitals were the first team to do that, this season. So it's a difficult place to play for a whole number of reasons. Obviously, you're going west. You've got, different pressure and air, and, there's so many issues when you have to go there from the East Coast. And I was just really impressed that we were able to come away with a big victory. And it really showed a lot about this team, rallying around, their goalie and playing good defense. And it was just good at all facets of the sport. And I was hoping it would give a little bit more momentum into the next game, which was tough. But I was really happy about this game. Carol, any final thoughts on it before we get into that, the Golden Knights one?
No, we will get into the Golden Knights game.
Okay.
Right, bring it on.
I don't want to, but I will.
I know.
So here, Capitals head to Vegas, but we do have Kuzi scoring number 24 at 6:18 to start the first period, assisted by Ovi and Jensen. Vegas scores at 13:51. And then again, it's kind of random, back-to-back games with the captain being the only one scoring in the second period. So Alex Ovechkin gets number 49, assisted by Kuzi and Johansson. And then into the third, man, Vegas scores twice at 2:05 and 2:54. And I kind of felt like this could have been our moment of like, oh God, here it comes, to get the lead. And then we have the captain getting number 50 at 13:36 to tie it up. But unfortunately, going into overtime, Theodore scores at 2:09, and it was a loss for the Capitals. I just can't stand this team. So moving on.
Yeah, my quick thoughts are, we got our first point in Vegas. We've actually never gotten a standings point in Vegas. Now we have gotten a very important win, the cup that's next to both of you, and I guess also on the other side of the screen for people watching on Twitch. But we've never won a regular season game there, and they've been a tough team to play. They've only beaten them twice. And I believe I've actually gone to both games in Washington that they won. And they're a very frustrating team. I thought that we played well at times. They were scrappy. They're dangerous because we talked about this in our group chat. They needed that game more than us in a lot of ways. I know we're moving up in the standings. That's important, but like their playoff lives were on the line in that. What's frustrating is they lost the next game to the Sharks. But anyway, and so it's like, if you're going to lose anyway, I wish you had lost to us. But I thought that we played a pretty good game. I just wasn't quite to the level of them. It's not a bad loss in my mind. There was opportunities. I'm really bummed because in the second intermission, I fell asleep. So the whole rest of the game, I missed Obi getting 50 live, which I was really bummed about. And then obviously they get the overtime goal. But overall, I thought that it was a pretty well-played game against a team that was very desperate.
Yeah.
Carl, what are your thoughts?
I'm still upset about that point. They should have got the 2 points in this game. They're fighting to get out of the 8th spot, even though I don't have a problem with them playing for them. They're trying to possibly move up to as high as possible, the 4th spot or the 5th spot with Pittsburgh. So, and just like you talk about, they should have got those 2 points. And I don't like that because you're getting close to the playoffs when you have a lead, you lock it down, or when you can't give up the lead. You can't give up bad goals. And in that game, there were a few lapses where we saw that happen, and we didn't see the full 60 minutes. So that can't happen. And unfortunately, we saw that repeated in this week later, again later in this week that we're going to definitely talk about. But like I said, I feel like they should have won this game and got the 2 points.
Yeah, I want to also give a quick little shout out. We got a bunch of people on our Facebook Live. Eric was saying simulated a couple of softies versus Vegas. He was also saying that he saw the other game. It was good to see on the doorstep, a good win on the doorstep of the postseason. So he was talking about the Avalanche game, and he said apparently they're good, and they are. They're a very good team. So yeah, I mean, that's the problem with Sammy is I feel like he lets in these softies. But then also VTech sometimes lets in frustrating goals too. I mean, neither of them seem to want to like grab the bull by the horns and just become dominant right now, which obviously would make the whole decision a lot easier. I don't like every week that we have to talk about a goalie controversy, but here's some crazy stat. I mean, it's been a very long time, probably the first time in any of our fandom where we've had two 20 game winners on the same team. Right? It's always been a workhorse. And the last time it happened, I'm trying to remember when it was, but I want to say it was like maybe the 80s. Or maybe it was the 90s. But anyway, it was a long time ago. It was long before, at least I was a fan, and Anna was a fan. I don't know, Carol, if you ever remember a tandem having 20 win seasons. I know it's happened once before, but it was a long time ago to my understanding. And I clearly don't remember it. But yeah, it's not a bad thing to have 20 win, but like you really want somebody this time of year to just take charge and be your 1A. And it makes it easier on everybody.
To me, I think it should be double V because, like I say, sometimes he does let in some, but it's few and far between.
I want to agree with you, Carol. My problem is at the very end of last night. Like, we'll get to it, but like, he had the opportunity, 8 minutes left, shut it down. That's a playoff scenario situation.
Well, they had the game in their hand until they pulled the goal. It was 6-on-5, and they scored with 42 seconds left. So I mean, it was sort of there, and they couldn't clear the puck. They had too much puck possession, and when the
but that might happen in the playoffs, though, right? I mean, it's a typical playoff scenario right there against a playoff level team.
So yeah, I mean, after the constant pressure for almost 2 minutes, and they didn't clear the puck, they didn't ice it or anything to stop the pressure. So that rarely happens, but it happened in that game. It wasn't because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. It was a jailbreak situation against one of the better offensive teams in the league, and 2 minutes of zone time against any team and with any defense and not being able to change. Unfortunately, that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know. It's frustrating, but we'll get into last night's game when we get to it. But like, continuing our thoughts on the Vegas game, I thought the effort was there. They obviously didn't finish. I can't really speak to the third period. I was happy that they showed some resilience, and Ovi obviously, got those goals, but obviously it wasn't enough. And I talked to Gil about this on Saturday. It's frustrating when we seem to hit milestones. We seem to lose focus and don't remember to win the game. Like, I can't. It's happened a bunch of times this year. It's happened a bunch of times in the past 5 years where like Ovi will hit a milestone and we don't win. And that's frustrating to me because I want to be able to sell. I mean, the milestone's important. We should still celebrate it, but I'd like to celebrate both.
Season made him one. It's been like maybe a 1 or 2, but he didn't had so many milestones. Most of them he's winning them. So I mean,
that's true. But I'm talking about like the major ones, like the 50 goals, the beat, topping one of the other players, in the gold, charts when the game that he, so like the big ones. I know that he's always they're all big, I guess, but like what I mean, like the ones where he's like passing third place Yager. I think we lost that game. Like,
honestly, he probably doesn't care. He's glad to break the record. He's upset. He probably cares more about losing.
No, that's what he's saying. He's frustrated after almost all those times where he breaks a record because he has to talk about a loss. That's my frustration. And
he doesn't. He really doesn't care about the records. He just talks about it because they ask him about it. His focus is on winning, so he's more focused on that. He could really care less about the milestone. He'll worry about that in the off season when he can look back and say, "Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that." You get the applause on ice. You give hey, good job, and you get back to the task at hand. After the season, when you worry about the milestones during the season, that has nothing to do with your thought process, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. All right, let's get into the next game, and we can break that one down.
Yeah, this one's short and sweet. Heading to Arizona, Sherry gets number 18 at 11:33, assisted by Nikki and Schultz. No goals in the second. And the third period, Carlson gets number 16 with an empty netter. Stars go to VTech and Sherry. There's really not much to say. This should have been a win. I was kind of surprised it was, kind of took that 11 minutes to get a goal, but you know what? We won. Who cares? Like, I didn't really have a whole lot of opinions on it. I did not see this game. It was a 10:30, and this one here is old and needs sleep. But kind of wake up and like check the scores. 2-0. I don't know. VTech got a shutout. They're great, good for him. But I don't put a whole lot into this game.
I mean, Arizona is always a solid, defensive team. They just have trouble scoring, which has always been their problem. Most of the games that the Caps go in Arizona and play is a 1 or 2 goal game. The last time they were there, they shut them out 2-0. So they held them to 11 shots through 2 periods. They put up 8 shots in the third to give it to Caps had 29 shots. They had 19. I said 8 came in the third. And it's just the Capitals, played solid defense, good bounce back from the previous game. It's always good to get a shutout, especially with VTech in the net, because remember last season he had so many shutouts going into the third period that they ended up giving up a goal and ruining that form. So I always like to see him get the shutout and secure it because, like I said, he deserved so many more last year, his rookie year. That's why I feel that he has he has the biggest shot to take that next step if you say, hey, you're our guy going into the playoffs. Maybe they'll do it against the Rangers the last game of the season. You got 2 games back to back. So that's my vote. I gotta go with those. But this game was a solid defensive game against a, you know, lesser offensive opponent, and they did what they should have did and were supposed to do. And play solid lockdown defense and not give them up anything.
Yeah, sounds good. I want to give a little shout out to Andy and Carly for following you, Carol, on Twitch. I just gave a shout out. People, we didn't talk about this at the top of the show, but Carol's actually streaming this podcast. It's the first one, the Sports on the Hill podcast. That's actually being streamed on 2 different Twitch channel simultaneously. So you can see Carol's point of view on CP3_SportsOTHP and mine on RobbieG _SportsOTHP. So I've always had that as the acronym at the end, the hopes that Carol would one day follow me to the purple, and he followed suit. So it just took 3 years, but you're here now, Carol.
Trying to expand my reach, man. Yeah.
There you go. So I appreciate them for giving you a follow as well. And they're 2 of my mods here live on Twitch as well. And I want to thank everyone for being live on Facebook as well. There was talk that Eric said, I'm a fan of both the Caps goalies. Put the hot one in net and let's just go. And I agree. One thing I'll just say about this game, I'm happy we didn't expend too much energy. It didn't want us to, try to put up 6 goals for just no reason. We played conservative to try to, get energy, which we definitely needed in this Toronto game. So I think it was a good play. Play a smart, solid hockey game. No mistakes, but don't try to. I feel like sometimes when you try to push yourself and you don't need to, that's when injuries can happen. Yeah. And so I'm happy with how this game. It didn't. People are like, we should have been like 10-0. And the thing is like I don't think they're bad defensively. Their problem, as Carol was alluding to, is their forward core. The entire forward core I read had 75 goals, Carol, for the season. Ovechkin has 50 goals on the season by himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just not, And
so it doesn't mean that they're bad defensively. That just means that they're just not putting up enough goals.
Exactly. And I didn't expect it to be, that, like you said, like the 10-0, but I certainly didn't think it was going to be 2-0, but I'm glad, a win's a win and no injuries and a shutout for VTech. Yeah. Great. That's what we needed. Vibe going into the next game.
Yeah, well, let's just get into that Toronto game because it was such an interesting back and forth game. I watched each period in a different way, so that was kind of interesting. But I'll let you break it down. And I listened to the second period on the radio, and then the third period on a cab coming back home. So, but at least with ESPN Plus, you can watch it anywhere. So that's kind of cool. But a very interesting, frustrating game because the second I got to my doorstep is when they scored the tying goal, and I wanted to throw my phone on the ground, but I didn't.
Yeah,
but,
you weren't alone.
I was pretty frustrated. But anyway, break down the scoring.
Sure thing. So yesterday, Caps and Leaf played in DC. First off, we have Oshie scoring first at 5:34. To get his 11th, assisted by Mantha. And then it was like the Leafs score at 12:32, no goals in the second. So I think that's where we were like, where's this game headed? Eller and Mojo both score at 3:32 and 4:40 in the third, followed by 2 Leafs goals. God, to tie it up, go to the shootout. This is ridiculous. So we have Kuzi goes first, goal. Leafs have their first goal, and then nothing until shot 14. 14. God, I'm sure, and I'm sure Gil was at the game. I know he hates the shootout, and I'm sure this put him over the top. But that was it. Leafs won. So could have been worse. But
yeah, for sure. It was a very frustrating game. I'll get Carol's thoughts first and then I'll give my take.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't see the whole game. And Robbie, in our tradition, I got to take some blame for this game. I was doing my other show at the bar radio. He told me it was on ESPN Plus. So I turned it on my phone. I saw they were 3-1 with like 6 minutes left. I'm like, okay, I want to see how the rest of this game turns out. They've obviously played better defense, but they got beat 7-3 a couple of weeks ago. I want to see this game. And then they scored the second goal. I said, okay, maybe I should turn it off.
Yeah.
Said, no, it's only like 3 minutes left. They should be able to lock it down. Then they pulled the goalie. I'm like, okay, clear the puck, ice it, do something, stop. And it just kept on getting worse and worse. And next thing I know, I saw the puck in the net. I said, damn it. Should I turn it off or should I go ahead and continue to watch? Needless to say, I continued to watch. And as you said, through 7 rounds, maybe
we can't forget the overtime real quick because the first half of the overtime was all Toronto. They were buzzing in the zone, had lots of possession. We were on our heels. I was convinced they were going to score 2 or 3 different times. Then we got possession. Then they made a stupid penalty. And then we get the power play, but we don't have Ovechkin. We haven't really talked about the Ovechkin being tripped into the boards, enough yet. But so we don't have Ovechkin. We have a power play, and we just look off without having Ovechkin on the overtime power play. And they had almost a 2-minute power play in overtime that we unfortunately didn't convert. And when I felt like we didn't convert that, I felt like we were going to lose the shootout. And I was just surprised it took that long. But then also there's some questionable calls on who he was putting out there for the shootout. Now, to be fair, they do shootout drills every day in practice, every single day. And they clearly know who's better than we do. I mean, armchair fans are going to be like, no, they should have done this guy or that guy because he's got X, Y, and Z release. But I'm like, but you don't know. You're not there in practice every day. I'm sure John Carlson has a really good one, or he wouldn't have put him in the top 5, right? And there's just no way. He's not going to shoot himself in the foot. He wants the game, right? I mean, I get that he's a defender and he shouldn't be that good at it, but he's got a pretty nice shot. And if in practice he shows something, then I think
shit. I mean, he won the with fastest putt, like 101.7 miles an hour. It's like it's there, but I know I keep hearing chirps on why put Carlson, why put TDR, because for whatever reason. But you know what? But then Oshie didn't get it, so it's like you just don't know what's going to happen.
And nor did Nikki, right?
Exactly. So.
They need to stay out these groups. They're going to complain about everything. I mean, to me, I didn't have any problem because sometimes you got to switch it up. Like you said, Obi wasn't there, so you had TJ in a different spot. Kuzi started it off. Maybe I'd like to see Sherry maybe get a shot before Van Riemsdyk, but I don't really have a problem with who we put out there. I mean, folks want to complain. The thing I always say about hockey, one of the main reasons I love it, because I know I can't do it. And most of the fans need to realize that and just shut up sometimes and talk about who they get. Just crack the beer and watch the game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. A couple of other things I want to talk about. The trip. It was not called. At first, the commentators, who I thought were kind of bad for this game, but we'll take that.
The little while I listened, they were horrible.
Right, not good.
Who they were rooting for.
Right, you definitely know that they were pulling for Toronto. So we didn't lose that with losing the NBC coverage of that. It's just ESPN wants to do it. But anyway, regardless of that, it was originally they thought it was a trip. They went to their guy who's their penalty expert, and he said he didn't think it was because he thought he was going for it after the fact, and he didn't actually hold it with 2 hands on the stick. But by the way, if you trip somebody with 1 hand on the stick or 2 hands on the stick, it doesn't matter. Like even if you let go of 1 hand, the trip is a trip. So I don't know why that's even talked about, and he's a rules expert. But regardless of all of that, I thought it was a trip. It should have been a 2-minute penalty. Some people online are just like, oh, it's egregious. He's trying to hurt him. He should get a suspension. I'm not going to go that far, but I do think it should have been a 2-minute penalty. Anna, what are your thoughts on that one?
I totally agree with you 100%. I don't agree. Oh my God. I saw the suspension. He should be out for the rest of the season. I mean, it's like all this stuff. I wouldn't go that far. It wasn't malicious. But I do feel like it was a 2-minute penalty 100%. And I was shocked it wasn't called. But of course, there's nothing worse than having to watch it happen live, be like, oh, and then watch it in slow motion several times. Or like, no one wants to watch a hockey injury in slow motion or any sport injury
Right.
over and over and over again. But it definitely should have been a 2-minute
So
penalty.
I have two more things I want to talk about. I want to get Carol's thoughts
Yeah.
on the. Do you think it should have been 2 minutes for tripping? Did you ever go back and see that? I know that you turned it on late.
Somebody posted it, and I actually did see the stick. It should have been called. We've seen several times where something's happened to a Cowboys player, and miraculously the referee doesn't see it and doesn't call it. So, I mean, it sucks that it's against our, the superstar in the league that you should be paying attention.
So they should be pretty. I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like if it's Sidney Crosby, it would have been right, but because he's considered a guy that never breaks.
Well, he was laid there crying on the ice to try to get it.
Ovi did lay down for a while, so
he didn't cry though. Sidney would have cried.
Right, I guess that's the difference. So that's one thing. The other thing, and since Carl, you weren't watching that second period as much, and I listened to it on the radio, so and I got to see some of it. But there was questionable calls on. Well, there were 2 goals that were overturned. Right, there was a goal for each team that was actually disallowed. But the one specifically for our team that was disallowed, I have a question about that because I don't think that's a hand pass. It may have ricocheted off his hand and then went to somebody else. But my thought process is you have to actually grab it and throw it back. Like if it just bounces off your glove, I don't think that's a hand pass. And there's no way that it happened fast enough. And what's crazy is a couple of games ago, they said that hand passes couldn't be reviewable. But suddenly when it goes off of our guy, it is reviewable. And they took the goal off the board. I'm like, what the hell? Like our hand pass is reviewable, A, because I don't know now. And B, that's not a hand pass. It went off his hand. Like there's a difference. There's a hand pass. And if it's hand, puck flies off of it.
Right. And I don't even think it was that. I think it was like his forearm.
Yeah, I think it was forearm too. But even regardless, if it bounces off of you, that's not a pass.
No.
It's just like
not a hand pass. No.
Yeah, but that's just like the other game when Hathaway was on the backside of the net and he hit the puck. Then even though his stick was so-called over the crossbar, it deflected, bounced off the other player that was in front of the net before winning the goal. And they said that was it was played with a high stick. So we talked about this on Saturday as well. And so we had a long conversation about it. So I'm not going to rehash the whole conversation on that, but I felt I agree with you. I think that if it's deflected off of another person, it should be, whether it's your team or the other team, it should be allowed. Yeah. And it should be then back to the other team touches it, then the high sticking is waved off. So that's why I'm figuring.
Right, because then it's above the shoulder. But the thing is, if it's deflected into the net, if it causes a goal, it has to be the stick has to be below the crossbar. And so by definition, it was above the crossbar because that's where he touched it.
But it still hit off the other player before.
It doesn't matter. If it ends up in a goal, the stick can't be above the crossbar. That's what the rule says. But I don't think the rule's right. The rule's to try to stop people from batting it in. It's not trying to stop, what happened. Because he was actually not even trying to score there. He was trying to bat it to the other player below his shoulder and have the other guy that was streaking score. He never thought it was going to go off the goalie. It wasn't like he was like, I'm going to bat it off the goalie and in. That was not, there's no way he could have thought it that quickly, He's just trying.
Why are you using the crossbar as a reference point if high sticking should be above the person's shoulder, not above the crossbar?
But it's different. There's 2 high sticking rules, right? There's high sticking, which is a penalty or stopping the puck. That one's above the shoulder. But the high stick, when it goes in for a goal, is above the crossbar. It's a different rule in the rule book. It's stupid. My theory is that regardless if it deflects off another person, it should be mitigated. I think we're all in agreement of that. Whether it's your player and then that person gets the goal, or the other team's player and then you get the goal. But I just don't think enough of it's going to be people trying to hit it out of the air, off the goalie and in. I don't think that's like a situation that they need to try to avoid, right? So like that's clearly not the reason the rule was written that way. But anyway, we'll move on. If people want to hear more about that discussion, they can check out the Power Play Point podcast. But I agree with you, Carol. I don't think that was the right one. Let's talk about the week ahead because I know it's already 9:48. We got to let Anna go to sleep. We've got, Ovi injured potentially day to day. They say he looked good for the pictures. There's rumors that he was in a brace before the cameras came out. I don't know if any of that's true. Of course, rumor mills go flying in these Capitals fan groups. But like, regardless, I'm happy that he made the team photo. I don't think there's anything in the world that would have made him miss the team photo. Could have freaking been broken and he still would have been there for the team photo. I mean, yeah. Hagelin was in the team photo fully geared up and he's not playing tomorrow. So I don't think that means he's going to play tomorrow necessarily. But I do think in my book that he should maybe play one game this week, because I just don't like the last game that he played was the injury, and then he has got a week off because it won't be until next Monday when the playoffs start, maybe Tuesday for us. We have to see the schedule. For me, I'd like him to play that first Islanders game, the second Islanders game. So take off the next game, give him a little bit more rest, and then play the one in New York, but don't play the back-to-back against the Rangers. Take off against the Rangers, have the weekend to recover. Just so that way it's not a full week off, but it's like 3 days to recover, 3 days to recover from that game. In my book, that's what I would do. But Carol, I will ask you the question.
You know what's funny about the rumor mill? Nobody to have a camera or a phone when these occurrences happen. So folks saw him in a full body cast and ain't nobody get a picture. We didn't see pictures of so many games. Nobody snapped a picture and got it on TMZ Sports or got it on NHL Network.
To be fair, I have not scoured the message boards today, but not that I know.
I hadn't seen it. Yeah,
I have NHL Network on right now on my TV to the right, and believe me, if there was a picture of Ovi with any type of cast on his body, that would be breaking news. Oh, he might not get with Gretzky's record. Oh, the playoffs are in jeopardy. You don't think there were so many storylines. So all of those rumor mill folks, go jump on a hamster wheel and just keep running around in the circle because I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, I agree. But Anna, but Carol, I don't think you actually answered. How many games would you sit him? All of them? Some of them? None of them?
If he's healthy, if he's not hurt, put him out there. You want these guys
for all 3 games?
All 3. You want them in
even the back-to-back Rangers Islanders one.
He's missed 17 games in 17 seasons due to injury. This man is not used to sitting out. If he can skate, he can breathe, he's going to be on the ice. He's going to give it 100%.
Even if it potentially could make it worse if he gets hit a certain way.
Well, that's what I say. If he's healthy, if there's no.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna be 100% healthy. No one is at this time. So I guess it depends on how. Like,
if he's sore and he can't move, don't have full motion and stuff like that, then you rest him. But if it was just knock the wind out of him, or he's sore because he hit the board at an awkward angle and he's nothing structural and nothing wrong, you want him out there because you want everybody.
Well, there's talk that he was in concussion protocol, so it may not have even been the shoulder, but then the cast is on the shoulder, so it could have been. Yeah, the NHL kept him out for the concussion protocol.
More than the shoulder than the head. Well, I only sort of.
The head definitely collided.
It was nasty.
Yeah, that's probably what it was too. So I mean, if precautionary, if it's concussion, then you want to definitely be precautionary. Then say, take a game off. Make sure, no lingering effects if it's, concussion related.
I don't think it actually was. I think he had to go into concussion protocol, like the NFL, like so I don't think it ever came out that he had a concussion, but he couldn't go right back in. And then at the time they were up by 2 goals and they were like, let's just shut it down, it's not worth it to go back into that game, even if
as long as we don't have no neck issues or not.
Well, to see they tell us so little information, so like it's all speculation. But Anna, what would you do?
I would sit him out. Yeah,
for all 3.
Yeah. No. I would sit him out tomorrow. I'd play him the second and sit him out the third. Only because I know that I want to say, you want to say Russian machine never breaks, and his whole everything that's so fantastic about Alex Ovechkin and why I love him so much. However, I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about the other players that could target him. Or just and I just don't want to see it. Like, I don't want to see some dirty play. I don't want to see some stupid, not that they're out to get him, but you just don't know, and why risk it? And I feel like, he's 36. He's not 26. He's not, 20. We have to take into consideration how important he is to the team. So to let him, rest for 2 Why not? You know,
Okay,
why?
I got a question for both of y'all. What if it
Okay.
comes down to the last game of the season? If they get 2 points, they can knock Pittsburgh out of the number 3. Do you still rest him?
I guess at that point, it's how comfortable he feels, right?
Yeah.
It's how good does he feel after that second game? Because we're going with a scenario, we're resting in the 1 just to be on the precaution. He's playing in the game 2, and then the question is, does he get the back-to-back? And I would say if he's feeling good and we need those 2 points, he plays.
Then he plays.
But if he's even a little bit nicked up, for me, moving in the standings doesn't matter that much, because part of me would be like, I wouldn't mind going to the Atlantic side of the bracket. Like, I know that Florida is really good, but all the teams, we haven't really talked about this yet. This is the first time in history, Carol, of when they've had these alignments based on conference where all 8 teams have 100 standings points, right? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, they're all so evenly matched, and then there's a big gap between the teams that don't make it, right? But like, any one of those 8 teams can beat any of the other 8 teams on any given 7-game series. I truly believe that. We could beat Florida. We almost beat them a couple of times this season, even though we fell short. We've talked about how we're.
That's the thing with Florida. That's the only thing with Florida that has me like, because they have the ability to come back from even 3 goals down. They're one of the best comeback teams in the league, if not after. I haven't checked
in the regular season. They do not have that much postseason perspective. It's a different game.
That's true, but they're in a groove.
They are, but we've seen teams be on fire in the regular season, and they just hit the postseason and just fall off. How many 1 seeds last year and the year before got knocked out, right? You know what I mean? Like, hockey's a weird sport. You have to get hot at the right time. They are hot right now. Will they be hot in a week? We don't know.
You got a solid goalie then they can always bail out a team.
That goalie has floundered in the playoffs. He's been one of the worst chokers of any of the current playoff goalies. Worst choke. I mean, he could show up on his head. You might be 100% right, but he also may revert back to having like one of the worst goals against in the playoffs of any of the goalies, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had a stellar regular seasons in the past and fallen apart. So it's not like it'd be that out of the question. And if you get one pass, and maybe he gets shaky. Maybe he starts remembering that,
on those teams, they weren't offensively as skilled as the team he's on right now. That was the issue there. If he gave up a couple of shaky goals, the teams that he was on didn't have comeback ability. This team does. So even if he does give us some shaky goals,
again, comeback ability in the regular season, and it's going to be 5-on-5.
That lineup is kind of just like Toronto. They're young. They have a little bit of playoff experience, but they're still, when it comes down to it, it's all about hockey.
But Toronto's another team that every year they look like it's going to be, this is their year. And every year they fall apart in the playoffs. And I don't know who's going to be the team to win it all, but they've got to play Tampa Bay, the 2-time defending champions. That's going to be a tough out for them. I can't imagine. I mean, they got crushed the other day by them. And
they did. We were talking about that.
Yeah. So I don't know. All the matchups are potentially pretty crazy. It's all very, very close in the standings. I agree with you, Carol. I hope we're able to overtake Pittsburgh. But it's going to be this crazy. I'm going to pull up the standings right now, and we'll just talk about it real quick before we let Anna go. But it's all the teams have clinched, so that's not the question, but it's where it's going to be. So Boston's the first wild card with 103. We're currently the second wild card with 100, but we could overtake Pittsburgh, who's only got 101. So Pittsburgh's got 2 games remaining. They've got a game against Edmonton on Tuesday, and Edmonton still is trying to solidify their home ice advantage in their series, and then they got to play Columbus. Both of those games are in Pittsburgh, both very winnable. Let's assume that they win both, even though I don't want to say that. That would put them at 105 with the remaining games. We've got 3 remaining games. If we run the table, we control our own destiny. We would get 106 points. So it goes to what Carol is saying. If we win the first 2 and it comes down to we need those points, what do you do? But it's kind of cool that we've put ourselves in a position where we control our own destiny, because just a couple of weeks ago we didn't. So we've actually played really well over the last couple of weeks to put ourselves in a position to take this, but it's going to be an interesting matchup. Let's take a look at the upcoming. So that's basically it. If we win it, we're playing the New York Rangers, or I think it's just the Rangers.
That point that we didn't get against Toronto is going to might come back and bite him in the butt.
Either one or both, Toronto and the Vegas one, right?
Yeah.
So, although we did pretty well on the road trip, I was,
whole team in the league, but still, when you have,
I know, but so Carol, so right now the Rangers have 3 games remaining, and Carolina has got 2. I'm pretty sure Carolina's got this all wrapped up for the 1 seed, but there is a chance if they lost both games and the Rangers won all 3 of their remaining games, which would include a victory over us, that they would actually take over the division 114 to 112, and then that 3rd place team would play Carolina. So there's still an opportunity that we play Carolina if we move up and the Rangers move up, or we could play the Rangers. Or if we stay where we are, we would play Florida. And I believe those are all the possible matchups that we could do. Yeah, because Rangers can't fall off enough, so we can't play Pittsburgh in the first round. So
can't wait for the last game of the season with the Rangers. I can't wait to see that last matchup. They're actually showing some Capitals highlights right now on NHL Network.
Oh wow, the Rangers actually play Carolina as their next game, so that'll actually probably tell. That's kind of for like huge. The division title game. That's an interesting matchup against Tuesday at 7:00 Carolina game while we're playing the Islanders. So that's definitely, if you want to look at out of town scoreboard, that's a fun secondary game to watch on Tuesday, as well as that Pittsburgh game versus the Edmonton Oilers. So if you have ESPN Plus on a second TV, that might be a good idea. But Carol, what do you think? Last 3 games of the week, do you think we win them all? Do you think we sneak in above Pittsburgh? Do you think we fall short? What's your gut feeling?
2 games against the Islanders and 1 game against the Rangers. I think they could definitely beat the Islanders back to back. The Rangers game, I'm anxious to see because if I recall correctly, the last time they played the Rangers beat them pretty convincingly, and we didn't have everybody healthy. So I would like to see this lad. That's why I want to see I want to see Ovi play, because I want to see what this will look like with everybody healthy against this Rangers team that I didn't think would make the strides they made this year. As you said, they're basically playing Carolina next to see who's going to win the division. I didn't have them making that leap all the way to the top of the division, at least not this year.
You got to give credit to Brian. Brian thought they were going to be pretty good this year, if you remember.
Yeah, true. I just thought he was a Rangers fan. You know how they
yeah, they're always going to pick them. Well, I mean, eventually you're going to pick it right. The last time we played them, I think it was Thursday, February 24th. It was a 4-1 win. The Rangers over us was the last time we played them.
Yeah. So,
but we also beat them, I believe, the opening game of the season.
Yeah, that was a great game. That's the one I like to remember. It was a great game.
Yeah, the 5-1. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great game. But I think they can win all 3. Are they? Like I say, I'm not sure. I don't want to make a prediction going into the last part of the season. I just want to sit back and enjoy and see what this team can do. If they can play like they did against Colorado, lockdown defense, hustling, blocking shots, within the passing lanes, not taking dumb penalties. And you got to give a shout out. We haven't mentioned the PK. I believe what they said last night, 34 for the last 36 penalty kills. So that might even been 35 out of 36. But they definitely have been, when they have made dumb mistakes, they've been playing very well to, protect the goalie and not give up goals. And if they, have a lead or if they're trailing. So it's, got to give a shout out to the PK. But I just can't wait for the playoffs to start, because it's going to be very interesting. Like you said, everybody got 100 points. Teams are evenly matched. There's a lot of parity in the league. The teams do different setups, different things. So, like you said, Florida was the best in the regular season. Let's see how it's going to translate to the postseason, and that goes for a lot of teams. So, I'm just ready for playoffs to start, baby. It's the best time of the year.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I think we're going to win 2 out of 3. If Ovechkin plays in all 3 games, I think we'll win all 3. And but I think he'll probably play only 2 or 1 of those games. So I think we're only going to win 2 out of 3. And it just really comes down to whether or not who wins that Edmonton-Pittsburgh game on who's going to win that spot. I think if Edmonton beats Pittsburgh, I think we will take it. I think if Edmonton loses to Pittsburgh, we won't take the division. So those are kind of my gut feelings going into this week. But Anna, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 2-3. I just feel like, if not that I want to put everything on Ovechkin, because.
But do you think that'll be enough, or do you think Pittsburgh? Do you think Pittsburgh will fall apart completely, and we'll jump over that spot?
I hope so.
Yeah,
that's what I really hope. To be honest, I would really like them to fall apart. I know that Jari was injured, and so I thought he was out, but maybe not. Maybe he's back. And what I read was, other Facebook stuff and drama. So yeah, I don't know. I like to see them, and like when you just get like tired of hearing about a team, like I'd like to see them, that I'm over Pittsburgh, but yeah, I think we're to go 2-3, and I think Ovechkin will still sit out the tomorrow night game.
Yeah, maybe. I think so too. I appreciate all the guys bantering. We've got a lot of Boston fans in chat right here on Twitch, but so they're actually, one of them was rooting for Florida. And I was like, why are you rooting for Florida? You're a Boston fan. Like, you should hate them.
Yeah,
but like, go lick somebody.
Go lick somebody. He said, Stewart says he really wants New York Rangers versus Boston. So he's hoping the Rangers overtake Carolina and that Boston plays them in the first round. That would be a really interesting first round matchup for sure.
Yeah, I hate Carolina. So yeah, there's a lot of like, this is, it's going to be.
That's why I think it's going to be kind of exciting that the wild card teams are going to flip conference, divisions. So I think, whatever that is going to be is going to spice it up a little bit for sure, and not have all the same matchups. Because for a bunch of years, remember in the Metro, it was like the same playoff matchups year and year. And so that's one of the things I kind of liked about Boston joining the division last year, although I did not like that they won the game in the series against us. But like, I at least thought it was interesting to play a different team in the first round, as we hadn't seen that for a while. So, all right, Anna, any final thoughts before we let you go, as we've now kept you like over an hour?
Nope, I'm going to send you a bill. No, it's all good. It was great to see you guys. I know we're wrapping up the season, which is always exciting. So that's it. I'm glad I made, like I said, make that donation for Ocean Harmony. Anybody out there listening, it's so worth it. I did, you did. It's so worth it. And that's it. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm about to crash.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for doing this in a 2-hour podcast. If people missed that podcast, again, it's on my VODs. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on SportsOTHP.com. The audio is also on, if you click the podcast partners and click Power Play Point Podcast. I had a great time with Anna, Gil, and Casey as well. And, I look forward to doing more things like that in the future with you guys. One programming note, I think we'll do a show next Monday, but obviously if there's a playoff game at 9:00, there's no way I'm doing it at the exact same time. So like, I'll do live watch-ins for a lot of sports, but I won't do I'm too anxious for that. So we would, in that scenario, if there is a game next Monday, I think I'll talk to Carol offline, but my gut feeling is we should do it on a Tuesday, because I don't know how many Caps fans would be watching us instead of the playoff game. So like, as much as I think that we're fantastic and we have a great show here, but I don't know if I would want to watch us over the Caps.
You get a hell of a better play-by-play than you get on ESPN Plus.
That's true, but I'm hoping that Joe B gets at least that game. So. Anyway, we'll talk offline, but stay tuned on the page. We may do a show on a Tuesday if there's a playoff game on a Monday, but we'll keep you guys posted, because I for one would like to watch the playoff game without having a camera in my face. But it's just because I'm going to be screaming a lot. So, I mean that could be an entertaining podcast, but I just don't know if I could like break down the previous week's games while watching a playoff game. That would be, nor would I care at that point of whatever they did against New York, because whoever they're playing would be more.
Exactly.
And plus, if we do it on Tuesday, then we could recap the last week real quick and then talk about the first playoff game as well. So that's a potential idea. But anyway, we'll talk more offline and then we'll let everyone else know. But I just wanted to put that in the hockey talk in case people wanted to know where to find us next week. But Anna, thank you so much for joining us on both shows this week. And I will talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Anna, take it easy.
All right. Carol, I'm going to let you quickly talk some baseball. I'm going to go refresh my drinks. I will be right back. I'm frustrated. I'll just say this. Happy they got the 2 wins to start the week, but frustrated with how they've done since. But I'll let you use that as your segue to break down the week that was for them.
Yeah, it was definitely frustrating to watch. I watched most of these games, and as Robbie mentioned, they won the first 2 games of the week and unfortunately lost the rest of them. The Nats currently are sitting 6-12 at the bottom of the NL East right now. Had a 2-5 week, as we just mentioned. They went 2-2 versus Arizona, which should have been a sweep. Won the first 2 games, which was a doubleheader. So I thought things were looking, on the bright side for this team. I say they will hopefully be above 500 after playing Arizona, and it was just about there. But then they lost the last 2 games of the series, and just wasn't pretty at all. And it's coming down to the same thing that's in the start of the season. The issues is with starting pitching, haven't given enough consistency, haven't been getting enough innings. The bullpen has been playing, been pitching lights out. When they get in the game and not giving up runs, the runners aren't scoring, aren't advancing. But for some reason, we can't get the starting rotation to get consistent and to be able to find the strike zone. And Patrick Corbin is one of the main culprits right now that I'm not sure what's going on with him. Last year, we saw some of the same issues throughout the season. And the way the season started for him this year is looking like those issues are still there. Have to figure that out, because if he's supposed to be one of the senior members of the staff, especially with Strasburg and Joe Ross still out, he needs to be able to log some innings and log some wins. Currently, he is still winless, and last outing he got hit pretty badly in the end of 2/3. But I'll break that down when I get to it. Let's go ahead into this Arizona series. And recap it. The first game was a 6-1 victory for the Nats. Josiah Gray put him at 2-1. He went 5 1/3, giving him 3 hits, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. Madison Bumgarner took the loss. That put him at 0-1. He went 5 innings, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, neither one of those earned, with 5 strikeouts and 4 walks. He actually had a no-hitter going into the 4th inning, and one mistake by one dropped fly ball in the outfield that should have been an out. And next thing you know, home run, down 2-0, and got yanked out the game. Nats won that game 6-1. Robles and Hernandez had RBI doubles in the bottom of the 5th. That wasn't a home run. I was thinking of another game, so that's my bad. And Franco got an RBI single in the 6th. Josh Bell got an RBI single in the 8th, along with Ruiz had a sacrifice fly. Escobar had an RBI single in the 8th. Sorry, Bell and Ruiz, that was in the 7th. No, that was all in the 8th. That's right, all in the 8th. The second game was a 1-0 shutout victory for the Nats. Joan Andone earned his first victory as a Nat. He's 1-2 now. He went 6 1/3, giving up 3 hits, no runs, with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Tyler Gilbert took the loss. That dropped him to 0-1. He went 5 2/3, 3 hits with 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts and no walks. Tanner Rainey earned his 3rd save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, no earned runs with a strikeout and a walk. And Hernandez had an RBI double in the bottom of the 6th to account for the lone run for the Nats. They gave them the victory and a 2-0 lead in the 4-game series. And as I said, I was looking for them to at least win 3 out of 4, if not sweep this team. And unfortunately, the third game of this series was a lopsided loss for the Nats, 11-2. Merrill Kelly earned the victory for Arizona. That put him at 1-0. He went 6 innings, giving up 6 hits, 1 run with 5 strikeouts and a walk. Eric Fetty went 3 1/3, giving up 8 hits, 7 runs, 6 of those earned with 3 strikeouts and a walk. After the strong outing he had previous outing, I was hoping he would be able to build off of that, but unfortunately, he wasn't. Ruiz had an RBI single in the bottom of the 6th, and Nelson Cruz had an RBI single in the bottom of the 7th to account for the 2 Nats runs. And the last game of the series was a 4-3 loss. Zach Davies earned the victory, putting him at 1-1 on the season with 5 innings, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Josh Rogers took the loss. They dropped him on 1-2. He went 4 1/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. Mark Melanson earned his second save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, no runs, strikeouts, or walks given up. Nelson Cruz had a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 4th, and the Nats tackled a run late. I believe it was in the 9th, but it came up a little short. And unfortunately, instead of a series win, they ended up splitting the series with the Diamondbacks going into the series against the San Francisco Giants, who are one of the hottest teams in the league to start the season. So I knew that was going to be a tough task for the Nats to, win this series. And I was hoping they would at least be able to get one of the games. And unfortunately, they got swept at home by the Giants. The first game was a 7-1 loss. Jalen Junis earned the victory that put him at 1-0. He went 5 innings, giving up 3 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts, and no walks. Patrick Corbin drops him to 0-3. He lasted 1 2/3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 7 runs, 4 strikeouts, and 3 walks. Maikel Franco at the bottom of the 8th accounted for the lone run for the Nats. This game got a little testy because apparently San Francisco plays an aggressive style of baseball where no matter how many runs they're up, they're always playing aggressive and trying to score. Alcides Escobar took exception to them running the bases aggressively late in the game when they were up big. Words were exchanged, a couple of pushes. Davey Martinez, came out the dugout and said some words. In that situation, can't get mad because they're playing to win. They outplayed you during the game. It happens, but you can't get mad and ready to fight because they played better than you did. So I didn't really like that. That's not really a good sign to me. No matter how bad the game gets, you can't get mad because they're playing baseball. I know there are unwritten rules and stuff you weren't supposed to do in certain situations or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's baseball. So you don't want to score, you don't want them on the base pass, don't let them get a hit. Simple as that. Second game of the series was a 5-2 loss. Alex Wood earned his second victory of the season. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, and a walk. Aaron Sanchez took the loss for the Nats and dropped him to 0-1. He went 4 1/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 strikeout, and a walk. Camilo Duvall earned his third save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no runs, 1 strikeout, and no walks. Riley Adams had a solo home run in the bottom of the 5th, and Lane Thomas had a RBI single in the bottom of the 7th, I believe it is. So, and the last game of the series is another lopsided loss by the Nats, 12-3. Logan Webb earned his second victory of the season. That puts him at 2-1. He went 6 2/3, giving up 7 hits, 3 earned runs with 6 strikeouts and 1 walk. Yeah, Joan Andone took the loss. That drops him to 1-3. He went 4 innings, giving up 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. Hernandez had the RBI single in the bottom of the first, and he had a 2-run home run in the bottom of the third to account for the 3 Nats runs in this 12-3 lopsided loss to San Francisco. As I mentioned, that put them at 6-12. I also mentioned Strasburg isn't there yet. Joe Ross is there. The starting pitching has been one of the major issues with this team, and timely hitting. I'm not really feeling Juan Soto in the number 2 spot. One reason is Nelson Cruz has been kind of cold. He's supposed to have been there to, protect Soto, but you got Cruz, Bell, and, the power of the lineup. But it hasn't been working out. I still feel like Soto's kind of pressing and trying to make something happen. I don't know how long Baby is going to stick with him in the 2 spot. If that's just an experiment, is he's going to, move him around and put him back more in more natural positions that he used to be in a third or even a full spot. I don't know, but this team, they say it's rebuilding, not really built to go anywhere, which is, understandable after, losing some of the pieces that we've lost. But to be 6-12 to start out and some of the games away, bad fielding, bad pitching, those are 2 things that we're not used to seeing from this Nats team, no matter who was the manager, no matter who was on the field. So I know it's still early, still plenty of time in the season. And I guess it's more bothering because the Mets are in first place in the league. I guess that's really bothering me, the way that the Nets are playing right now, because the Mets are actually leading the league.
They're not only that, they're one of the best teams in all of baseball.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I wouldn't have guessed it. And it's not all Max. It's, it's the whole team's playing pretty well.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right, I won't talk about it
then. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the week upcoming. There is no games tonight, or we'll be talking about it. They had
yeah, we would have broken in with something by now, probably.
Yeah, they have a 3-game series versus Miami. Tuesday and Wednesday are 7:00 starts, and Thursday is a 1:00 start. And then they head to San Francisco, hopefully not to get swept in San Francisco, for a weekend 3-game series. Friday is a 10:15 p.m. start. That's the Eastern times. Saturday is a 4:05 start, and Sunday is a 4:05 start. I'd be happy if this team would win. They could beat the Marlins 3, but I think they'll win 2 out of 3 of the Marlins, and hopefully at least get 1 out of 3 against San Fran and go 3-3 on the week. And I'll be content with the 3-3 week. What about you, Rob?
So San Francisco just took all 3 against us, and so we have to get vengeance on them, right? I mean, it's just you have to exact some revenge. You got to take at least 2 out of these 3 in their barn if that's what they just did to you, and these games weren't even that close. 12-3, 7-1, 5-2. You have to come back. And I mean, if you want to make this an interesting season, you got to win 2 out of 3 in both of these series and just start clawing your way back in and win 1, series at a time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's still early. Like I said, it's 19-32.
I know, but you still got to win series. You know what I mean? You don't want to. You can't rely on the fact that you're going to do that. And that might be a once in a generational thing to be able to come back from that. I mean, maybe you could do it again, but I wouldn't bank on it. So
I mean, they have a lot of young pieces. They're still trying to figure out things. I think Luis Gonzalez is supposed to be coming back if he hasn't already come back to the second base. They need some firepower in the offense. That's the defense, needs to be solidified also, but the hitting has been off and the scoring has been off, and that's basically what the team is right now. They've been getting down early and they're trying to come back. It's just not what this team is built for right now. And they just got to play better. It's basically, I said, it starts with the starting pitching. if your starting pitcher is supposed to be a veteran, only going an inning and 2/3 and giving up 7 hits and 7 runs, something's wrong. And the fact that Davey left him out there when he saw the wheels falling off, he should have got. I know he was trying to have faith in him and trying to, hopefully think he could turn it around. But his slider ain't been sliding right since the 2020 season, since after the World Series season, but the COVID season, everything was screwed up. Last year it wasn't, the killer pitch that we.
It just sucks. I felt like we lost a lot of momentum after 2019 with how COVID hit, and everything. I just felt like we could have built off that and gained something. And I think we just got really stifled. And ever since, we've just been kind of taking steps backwards, and it's just not working. I'm curious if they're going to sell the team. There's just a lot of uncertainty with the, who we've got and what our future looks like. It'll just be interesting to see where we stand in 10, 20 games, if we're still, where we are, or if we've made some movement in the standings. But it'll be an interesting season to see for sure. I haven't seen anything that says that we're going to break out, but again, a lot of new pieces. It takes some time to gel. So you never want to count a season out too early, like some pundits did a couple of years ago. So,
I mean, they lost a lot of, veteran leadership, a lot of offense, a lot of pitching, and they're trying to, build that back up. Still got Anibal Sanchez down in the minors trying to get himself together. We saw Doolittle come back. Unfortunately, he's on the injury list right now. Hopefully he'll be back. Strasburg, they say he'll probably be back before Joe Ross will. And, if you get those key guys back and, giving them quality outings, then it's a trickle-down effect. And then you don't have to worry about using the bullpen for them. Then if other guys do fall, so you can have the bullpen guys ready. Hopefully they don't need it. And then the bullpen, like I said, is pitching lights out. I saw their stats. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they're very impressive. I think they have like a .79 ERA right now, something I think I might saw. So I mean, their relievers are doing the job. Just the starters aren't, doing theirs. But it's early in the season. Starters got to get in their groove and get their mechanics and everything fixed out from being off and spring training and all that good stuff. Especially with the extended, with the collective bargaining issues. So I mean, I'm hoping it'll, get together. We've seen some good things from Josiah Gray. We saw some, one solid out from the Domes. We still haven't seen one solid out from Corbin, and that's what I'm waiting for. At least he can get something to build off of, and you can at least say, okay, let's get it going. But last year he had double-digit losses, and the way he's going right now, it's going to be another double-digit loss season for him if he doesn't get his figure out what's not working for him. Because whatever he's doing, it's not working right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, we're only one game back of basically everybody but the Mets. It's all very close. And then the Mets are the cream of the crop, but still only 6 more wins, which is you sweep 2 series and you're right there. And so it's we're still so early in the season, but we're obviously not trending in the right direction with a 3-7 in our last 10. We just got to start to figure it out, and we'll see what we're doing. But I'm going to bring in Arun so we can maybe talk a little NBA, as if that works with you, Carol.
Yeah, I can go ahead. I'm about to go ahead and switch to this 2 screen, and I'm about to sit back and listen about these playoffs. I heard, like I said, I heard earlier they were kind of boring, or some people said it's good. So I'm gonna sit back and see what you guys break it down at.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Arun, why don't you come on, and I will do a quick little screen share here. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about the current NBA playoffs as well. There he is. Awesome. Arun, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad. Just it's just watching some basketball. How's your night going?
Nice. It's going pretty good. I can't complain too much. I haven't been able to watch much of tonight's game because we had such a vigorous conversation about all the different, hockey and all the possibilities that are coming up, and then obviously the Nationals. It's been an interesting, playoff so far. I was going to go through each of the different series real quickly with you, get your thoughts on them, and then we'll talk about where we think we'll break down each series one by one real fast, and then I think that's probably the easiest way to get through it. Let's talk about the Hawks Heat series first. So game one, the Heat beat the Hawks 115-91, and then in game two they beat them 115-105. And then the Hawks was able to come back and win game three, 111-110, in an exciting finish that we'll talk about. And then the Heat took a commanding 3-1 lead with winning their last game yesterday, 110-86. So Arun, let's talk about the first two games in Miami. What were your thoughts on those two games? And then we'll get into the ones that were in Atlanta.
Yeah, I believe only one of those two games was close. Bogdanovich was great in one of those games. He was on fire, but I think Miami just stepped up, and Jimmy Butler was living at the line pretty much this entire, even in Atlanta, he's been getting to the line. Kyle Lowry's kind of been getting in Trae Young's head with a lot of like flopping and drawing fouls, but it's all part of the game, and that's what Kyle Lowry's been doing since he was on the Raptors, and that's what he's been brought in for Miami. And then as far as when I went to Atlanta, yeah, as you mentioned, the Heat pretty much blew a big lead in game three, but then in game four, they came out with a vengeance. They completely shut down Trae Young. It was a blowout. They didn't even play Kyle Lowry in game four, and I think this series is probably a wrap. If it doesn't end in 5, it'll probably end in 6, and Miami should be moving on to the next round.
Yeah, I don't see a team coming back from a 3-1 deficit, but it was a really exciting victory for the Hawks in that game 3. It was a really good game back and forth. And obviously Trae Young played well, and I thought they were going to make a series of it, but obviously when the Heat kind of dominated game 4, I think that it's going to be maybe over in 5 as my gut on that series. Any more thoughts on that one before we switch to a different series?
Yeah, Atlanta did come back from 3-1 last year against the 76ers, but I just think this Miami team is better than that Sixers team was a year ago.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's go and see what the second seed has been doing so far. So taking a look at their series here. Their first game was a 115-114 victory for the Celtics in Boston, and then they won the second game 114-107, and then it went to Brooklyn, and the Celtics then won the third game 109-103, and then they were able to sweep it. In fact, that just happened today, a final score of 116-112. So Arun, break down this series for us.
Yeah, it was, as you mentioned, a sweep. Tatum fouled out of game 4, but it just turns out the Celtics were a better team. The James Harden trading James Harden to the Sixers hasn't worked out because Ben Simmons didn't suit up to play. Crazy thing is the Celtics were the 11th seed at the end of last year. The Wizards actually beat them a couple of times, but they've been playing really good defense, kind of like a mini version of like the 2004 Pistons. They're one of the best defensive teams, probably more comparable to like the Toronto Raptors from a couple of years ago. Marcus Smart's done a good job at becoming a really good point guard, but the Nets, this experience with Kyrie Irving playing half the season probably cost them better seeding. They seem to be getting their legs more in game 4. Every game was becoming closer and closer. Just they need more time to gel, and they need Ben Simmons to become healthy. Kevin Durant, he didn't play well, but the Celtics were a really good defensive team. The Nets don't really have that much depth. Blake Griffin was playing minutes, and he's probably on his way out of the league, unfortunately for him, unless he can find some more youth. But the Nets can play really good defense. They missed James Harden. James Harden reportedly left the team because Kyrie refused to get vaccinated. And unfortunately, this was a bad season for the Nets, happily for Brian, because he was rooting against the Nets. He was even rooting for the Celtics, and he hates Boston. That's how much he hated Brooklyn. But it's just bad for the Nets, but they'll probably be back next year if they can fill out a better team around KD and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, for sure. There's not a whole lot more to break down in the sweep, so I think we'll just, for timing purpose, we'll move on to the Bucks versus the Bulls series. So it started on Sunday, April 17th, the Bucks winning at 93-86. The Bills actually came back and won the next, the Bulls won 114-110. And then the Bucks won game 3 on Friday at 111-81. It was kind of a big win in Chicago. And then they were able to win game 4 yesterday, 119-95. And so Milwaukee has a 3-1 lead. Game 5 is Wednesday at 7:30. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, this is like kind of similar, I feel like, about the Miami Atlanta series. I think the Bulls, they haven't been playing with Lonzo Ball since January, even though Chris Middleton did suffer an injury. He's the Bucks' second best player and an all-star caliber player. I just think the Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo are too much. And Caruso played really well for the Bulls in game 2, where they won in Milwaukee. But I just think that Milwaukee's out for blood. I think it was like 5 years ago that the Bucks and Bulls played in the playoffs, and the Bulls actually beat the Bucks. Maybe Giannis will have that in mind in game 5. If it doesn't end in 5, it'll probably end in 6, similar to how I feel about the Miami series.
Yeah, I definitely think for me, this is a pretty done series. I just think Milwaukee is too good, and I'd be very shocked if the Bulls come back in it. But we'll see. I think that it's another one that'll be done in 5. All right, going. Oops, that's not what I want to do. All right, let's go into that 76ers versus Raptors series. Game 1 in Philly. Philly took a 20-point win there on Saturday, April 16th. And then Philly beat the Raptors 112-97 on Monday the 18th to take a 2-0 lead. They won in overtime game 3. That was an exciting back and forth game, but they ended up winning that game 104-101 and take a 3-0 lead. But Toronto did take the next game and then won that game 110-102 to take a 3-1 lead back to Philly. And then today, Toronto actually won a potential another elimination game, 103-88, a big win in Philly. So let people know about this series, because it seems like the Raptors are coming back in it with the next game in Toronto on Thursday.
Yeah, this series would not surprise me if the Toronto came back from a 3-0 series lead and won, just because Joel Embiid suffered a season-ending injury with a thumb ligament. It actually looked like the Raptors were going to get swept because Rookie of the Year Scotty Barnes got injured and he's out for the series. But Joel Embiid, possibly the MVP this year, he's out, and the Raptors won game 5 by double digits. The Philadelphia crowd, not surprisingly, were booing their team in the second quarter of a playoff game. And Doc Rivers has blown 3-1 series. I believe he's blown 3-1.
Yeah, and with a lot of different teams, I want to say too. So yeah. So it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. That's, for me, that's the series in the East to kind of look out for. That's kind of the most exciting one right now. So again, that one's Thursday at 7:00, and then a game 7 potentially would be Saturday if they're able to reach that. Sorry, we're going this way. No, that's this button. Okay. I just wanted to also talk. We kind of didn't talk last week. So the play-in tournament got both sides of the bracket got the 9 seed to move up to the 8 seed and play the number 1 seed. So I just kind of wanted to let people know that it was a sort of interesting tournament, and it changed the dynamics a little bit. But I think it affected a little bit more on the West than it did on the East based on the matchup that we've seen so far. But Arun, just real quickly, what were your thoughts on the play-in tournament this year before we go into the Western side of the bracket?
Yeah, the Nets-Cleveland game wasn't particularly close. The Nets pretty much dominated Cleveland, and Atlanta versus the Hornets, that also, I believe, wasn't a close game. And then Cleveland, Atlanta was semi-close because Cleveland brought back Jared Allen. I actually thought he was out for the season, but he came back with an injured thumb. But Trae Young with another vintage. They're not calling this the playoffs, but they're also not calling it a regular season. But it was a great performance by Trae Young in an elimination game to get to the playoffs, and that's why he helped lead this. He helped lead them past the Sixers to the conference finals last year, down 3-1, and he was great in that play-in game when it looked like Cleveland could pull away, but Atlanta ended up winning. And yeah, not other than that, the Nets winning was not that surprising, and Cleveland was not really the same team after they had an injury to, like, their point guard position was pretty depleted. So it wasn't that shocking that Atlanta won that game.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Western Conference, which this 1-8 matchup, which was again the Pelicans. Did we talk about the Pacific side, the West Coast side of this bracket of the play-in tournament? Because I feel like the Pelicans making it's an important part of this story.
Yeah, I believe Tim and Brian, they were like pretty dismissive of the Pelicans, and then like I was like saying that because since the CJ McCollum trade, they've actually been playing like a playoff caliber team, and I think most people have written them off since Zion hasn't even suited up this year, but Brandon Ingram is playing like he's living up to the billing as the top 3 draft pick. He was drafted by the Lakers, and he's playing like an all-star. And it's pretty crazy that the Pelicans made the playoffs and the Lakers didn't, considering the Anthony Davis trade. And even though the Lakers did win the title, and it's still pretty funny that the Pelicans made the playoffs, considering it's just like they were supposed to be rebuilding, especially with Zion injured. And now they're potentially could knock off the Phoenix Suns. Granted, it's still early, but Phoenix did suffer an injury to Devin Booker, who has a hamstring injury, and those are pretty tough to come back from, although we can't rule out potential comeback from Devin Booker. But it's just pretty crazy how quickly things can change after just in a couple months.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's break it down. So they're able to beat the Spurs and then beat the Clippers, get in, and then the Suns, Pelicans, the first game for Phoenix, they beat them 110-99, but then the Pelicans came back and won 125-114 in Phoenix. Phoenix was able to win the first game at the Pelicans, 114-111, and then the Pelicans were able to so the Suns won 114-111, and then the Pelicans were able to tie the series up with a 118-103 victory. Tomorrow is game 5 in that series. It's a 10 o'clock Eastern start. What is your thought on this pretty crazy story of a number 9 seed now in a 3-game series with the number 1 seed?
Yeah, Devin Booker, he was probably 4th in MVP voting, considering all the NBA writers. Like that's how high he was rated. And in the first half of game 2, the Suns were up pretty decently, but then he got injured, and that just has opened the door for the Pelicans to be in this series. And Game 3, Chris Paul with a great game down the stretch of that game. It was a back and forth. It was only a 3-point game, and he played great. But then Game 4, the Pelicans really responded. Herb Jones, a rookie, 2nd-round draft pick, he played really well. Alvarado got forced a key 8-second. Chris Paul couldn't get the ball over half court in 8 seconds, and a little bit of bad blood between the Pelicans and the Suns. Chris Paul committed a flagrant foul, and one time Chris Paul knocked down Herb Jones, and Herb Jones was asked to be helped up by Chris Paul, and Herb Jones waited until one of his teammates, I believe CJ McCollum, helped him up. So this is a testy series. The Pelicans could easily win this series, which is pretty surprising. That's because Devin Booker's out. Otherwise, I think this may have been a 4 or 5 game series, but credit to the Pelicans. David Griffin, his job was as a GM was on the hot seat, but yeah, he's turned it around. It's crazy that I think they had 13 wins and 25 losses, and they'd only finished with 36 wins, but they've gotten hot at the right time, and they beat the Clippers in the play-in. Nobody actually thought it was possible, and now they're 2 games away from pulling off an improbable upset against a Phoenix team that's won the most games in its franchise history.
Yeah, it's still crazy to me that this is a tied series. It's just something I just didn't see coming at all. But obviously, Devin Booker getting injured is a big deal. And we'll see. All right, let's get into this number 2 series with the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. So the Timberwolves actually win 130-117 the first game against the Grizzlies, and then the second one, the Grizzlies won 124-96, and then the Grizzlies come back and win game 3 at Minnesota. That one's 104-95. And then they win the Timberwolves win the game 4 to tie the series 119-118 in a very close game on Saturday. And then game 5 in a tied 2-2 series is tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. This is a really tight series. What are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Minnesota barely made the play. They won their play-in game against Clippers. They had a huge comeback win with Karl Anthony Towns on the bench, or he had single digits, but Anthony Edwards, the number 1 pick from a couple of years ago, he's been great. I think he had more points in his first 2 non-regular season games. I guess the playing games are not playoffs, than Michael Jordan, but in his first playoff game, he had over 30 points as well. And actually Minnesota could be up 3-1, but they blew 2 big leads to the Grizzlies in game 3. It's pretty surprising that this series is, I'm more surprised by this series than the Sun series, just because there were injuries in the Sun series. But the Timberwolves have been playing great. The lack of experience of the Grizzlies is kind of showing they're probably were the better team on paper, but the Timberwolves have their top end talent. They've had 2 number 1 draft picks, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. Ja Morant has more fouls than field goals, so that's probably the reason why the Timberwolves are hanging around. And I just think this has actually a lot closer. I think the Timberwolves wouldn't surprise me if the Timberwolves won. Still picking Memphis, but I'm definitely going to be tuning into these best of 3 series. I guess it is right now, with it being tied 2-2.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because the Timberwolves going into the playoffs, I was just scrolling up while you were talking just to make sure I was right. They kind of limped in. It wasn't like they were beating everybody. I mean, the Wizards beat them 132-114, not that many games before. And they beat the Rockets, but the Rockets haven't been anything exciting. Same thing with the Spurs, but lost to the Bulls. But then they won that all-important game against the Clippers, and then from there were able to win game 1, which I thought set a tone for them. Stealing one of those 2 games is all you really have to do, and it saved them because they only won 1 of 2 at home as well. But it's going to be an interesting series again. 7:30 tomorrow, Tuesday, is game 5. Friday, if that happens, or when it happens, because it's tied 2-2, is going to be on April 29th. Doesn't have a time yet. And then if there is a game 7, that would be on Sunday. I can't believe it's already getting close to May 1st. That's crazy to me. But yeah, an exciting series for sure. Let's get into, I'm going to go back here for a second. Let's get into this Warriors series. Warriors versus the Nuggets. The Warriors won the first game 123-107. They won the second game 126-106. They then won the third game in Denver 118-113. And then when all was on the line yesterday, they could get swept. The Nuggets actually came out and won that game 126-121. Game 5 in that 3-1 series is on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Arun, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Warriors look like the best team in the Western Conference at the moment, especially with Phoenix suffering that injury to Devin Booker. Jordan Poole has been a revelation for the Warriors. He's looks like an all-star caliber player, and there's talk of him demanding a max contract when he becomes a free agent. And Steph Curry hasn't even been playing. He's playing off the bench in all these games. So it's pretty crazy that you have a two-time MVP coming off the bench, even though he's coming off an injury, he's still playing really well. And the Warriors had a chance to sweep the Nuggets. The Nuggets had been playing kind of shorthanded without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Nikola Jokic is still the MVP, but I just think the depth of the Warriors has been too much for the Nuggets, and I'd be surprised if this series doesn't end in 5.
Yeah, probably does. All right. The last series we're going to talk about is the Jazz Mavericks series. So the first game is the Jazz are up 99-93 in that one. The Mavericks come back and tie the series in Dallas again, so it's 110-104. It's seen changes, and the Mavericks actually win that time and at Utah at 126-118, and then the Jazz come back and win a very close game 100-99 on Saturday. And this game 5 is currently going on, and it's at halftime. The Mavericks are up 52-36 in a tied series. So what are your thoughts on this series and this current game, I guess?
Yeah, this series is kind of epitomizes how badly the Utah Jazz have been playing closing out the season. The first half of the season, I think they were like the number 1 seed and they were dominating. But lately, in the second half of the season, they've been blowing big leads to teams. And then they played the Mavericks, who were playing without Luka Doncic, somebody else in the MVP conversation in the top 5. And for the first 3 games of the series, Utah found itself down 2-1. Jalen Brunson has been playing out of his mind. The Mavericks didn't even give him a 5-year, $55 million extension, and they're probably regretting that right now, given that Brunson's out playing Donovan Mitchell. And Spencer Dinwiddie's actually been playing kind of well, although he missed a potential game winner in Game 4, which could have given the Dallas 3-1 insurmountable 3-1 series lead. This so far, what I've been watching from this Jazz Mavericks game, it was close, but now the Mavericks just kind of pulled away. And I think this series should probably win in either 6 or 7, because I think Luka is just getting his legs warmed up, and that's probably why they didn't take Game 4. And I think Utah's kind of just falling apart mentally.
Yeah, I think that Dallas will probably win this game with how it's trending. I mean, they've held Utah to under 20 points in each of the first 2 quarters, while scoring 24 and then 28 points. And I've just been checking out the different stats. It seems like it's pretty even scoring around the team, which is always dangerous when you already have 3 people in double figures in the first half. So it's going to be a tough hill to climb, especially in Dallas, and they'll probably gain a lot of momentum from this win. So it probably makes it so that Dallas will most likely win this series for sure. But it's been a really interesting playoffs so far. We've already talked about some of the surprising things. Of all the stuff you talked about, what do you think is the most surprising, and what are you looking forward to the most in this upcoming week before we see the round 2?
I think the most surprising is just like that the close series in the West are between the 1 and the 8 and the 2 and the 7 seeds. The East has kind of played to form. Even if Philadelphia ends up losing to Toronto, wouldn't be that shocking given that Joel Embiid got injured. Yeah, I just think the least surprising thing was that I would have to say Miami beating Atlanta up, and second is probably the Nets losing to the Celtics.
Right. That sounds good. Well, it's been really fun. I'm going to end the screen share there. But Arun, thank you for helping me break down. There was a lot of series, but we did it all in about 25 minutes, which is pretty impressive. So I appreciate you joining us and being a part of this conversation as we bring CP3 back in here. And Carol, before we let Arun go, any questions about any of the basketball things? Are you enticed to see any of these series, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't really watch much, but I'm always a Steph Curry fan. So I saw that Denver was able to, stave off elimination. So I'll probably watch Golden State and see what they do, but I really don't have any. But
I know hockey playoffs are right here. I understand.
Oh yeah, and football right around the corner. We just have
your cousin Otto Porter's on the Warriors.
What you say?
Your cousin Otto Porter is on the Warriors.
Oh yeah, that's right. Your cousin, I need to call him and see if I can get some.
Well, awesome. Well, Arun, thank you so much for coming on and breaking it down. And I know that you and Tim, hopefully next week, will be able to sort of complete out these series and start to take a look at the round 2 matchups.
Yeah, it sounds good. There should be some exciting game 7s to break down hopefully next week.
Sounds good. Well, Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just shout out to Jay Wright for retiring all of a sudden. Probably one of the best college basketball coaches right now, and we'll see. I think Villanova's in good hands with Kyle Neptune, but it's still kind of sad transition. It's always sad when a head coach kind of just retires out of the blue like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just created a brand new Arun command. So shouts out your podcast, anchor.fm/Hey Arun, or you can find him on Twitter at twitter.com/AR and then _ Bhattacharya. And the links are in chat, but they're also, and so is the bio. But if you go to sportsothp.com and you click on Team SportsOTHP, it's got our whole entire team on there with bios for all of them and links to all the social media posts. So you can get Arun's podcast there. You can get his Twitter, Facebook, and more information about him as well. And Arun, thank you for being a part of this. You've been a part of all 7 seasons, and I look forward to breaking down more of the NBA playoffs as it continues.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, and have a good rest of the show.
Thank you.
All right, Arun, take it easy, man. Appreciate it.
See ya.
All right. So, Carol, it was a great show. We got it under 2 hours, surprisingly. And but it's been any interesting football news or any other final topics you wanted to talk about?
Nothing really going on in football right now. Getting ready for the draft, which is Thursday. And it seems that I will be making an appearance at the FedEx Field draft party. I just got my tickets today.
Nice.
So I'll go check out some of the festivities down there and see if I can, stream live from down there with the first pick in the NFL draft, the number 11. We talked about it last week, Dujan and myself, with a draft.
That was a great draft special. I want to give a shout out to that real quickly. I thought you guys did a phenomenal job. If anyone missed that, you guys broke down so much information. I learned about who's coming back, who we got, what we're looking for at the different positions. You guys did a great job breaking that down. If you go to sportsothp.com, it's posted on there. It's also on Carol's YouTube channel. And so all the links are right there, right on the front page of sportsothp.com. And it's just a really great interview. I hope that people do go back and check out you and Dujane cutting it up as you guys always do. But it's really cool to just hear a special where you really have time to delve in and break it down. And I hope that people go check that out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great show as always, all season. So definitely be interested to see who are the first 2 picks that the Washington Commanders and the new Washington Commanders franchise, who the picks will be. We speculated to possibly a cornerback, a wide receiver, or it may possibly, move back to gain some more draft picks, being they only have 6 picks after giving up a couple of picks to pick up Carson Wentz, which we talked about that also. So you can always go back and check that out, and we're going to give you some more coverage once the draft is over and break down those picks. And so stay tuned for a lot more. Make sure you check us out Sundays at the Bar Radio starting around 6. Talking current events, entertainment news, sometimes a little politics, independent music as always, and music videos as I always stay at the end of my feed. As Robbie said, check out the website, SportsOTHP.com. Go check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Carol Porter Third 3 hours.
And Carol, before we finish up, I do want to give a shout out at SportsOTHP.com. We've got the social medias link, and it's got all of the different things. The one thing I have to update is I'm so excited that you're on Twitch now. I've given you some shout outs in the Twitch chat, but welcome to Twitch on the purple side. I also want to give a shout out to Meow Lizard. She just subscribed to me. I really appreciate the subscription. She can use those emotes. If you subscribe to me, you get Sports on the Hill podcast emotes too. So if you just come through on Twitch, you can do it. You can even use Amazon Prime. You get a free subscription. Everybody has Amazon Prime's got a free one. You can sub to any channel for free, and it gives them a couple of dollars on the Bezos's tab, which is nice. And it doesn't cost you anything, and it helps support me and Carol and all that. And so Carol's trying to build that up. Once he's got to 50 follows, he can start to get subscribers and emotes as well. But for now, you can use my emotes on his channel as well. But Carol, I just wanted to welcome you officially, since this is our first podcast on Twitch, and I'll definitely update the links on SportsOTHP. But you can find all of our Instagrams, our Facebooks, our YouTubes, all of that, Twitter, and then some. And but Carol, it's been a super fun show.
No doubt. Glad I was able to stick around for the whole show this time and check out some of the NBA talk. It's been a while. Stay tuned. I'm in the talks with Paul, the boxing guy, to get him on, because there's been a lot of boxing going on, and I haven't had a chance to keep up with it. So stay tuned. I'm talking to see if we can get another boxing special, because it's been a while. There's been a lot of boxing going on, and a lot of things have happened. So stay tuned for that also. Like I said, I'm going to play some videos on my feed. I know Robbie has some stuff going on Twitch. I'm new, so I don't.
Yep, I'm gonna do a little bit of one more plug for Ocean's Harmony and show a couple of videos right as I finish up myself. But it's been a fun show. I'll definitely end the Facebook Live feed here. Thank you for anybody that was tuning in on Facebook Live. We really appreciate that, and anyone listening to the audio form of the podcast. I'll stop that there. But thank you, Carol, and I'll let you shoot it off to your stuff.
As always, appreciate y'all checking us out. Another great episode of SportsOTHP.com. Make sure you tune in, tell your folks. It's always streaming on the podcasting platforms, the website. I've been spreading the word. A lot of folks been checking us out. Like the new subscribers to my YouTube channel. I'd like to welcome you guys also. Appreciate all of the views and all of the comments that's been coming through. And continue putting out highlight videos and streaming live as we always do. So welcome to the SportsOTHP extended family, because you're on my YouTube channel. And as always, DC sports are the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CPIII, RobbieG, and we out.
Recording stopped.
All right. Well, I will I'm now live just on Twitch. I'm just making sure that my Facebook is ended. I think I heard that correctly. So I wanted to thank you again for being a part of this, Meow Lizard. I also wanted to showcase, we're trying to raise funds for Ocean's Harmony. And so I wanted to put that on this extended Twitch video that's also will be on YouTube. We're raising money for a really great cause, trying to get some of the plastics out of the ocean. And I just wanted to show you, anybody else watching, a couple of really quick videos of things that are really important to me. If people are still watching live, or they can watch it later. But I really encourage people to, if they don't follow me on YouTube, go to youtube.com/RobbieGross, and you can see this is such an important part of who I am as a underwater videographer. And so I really encourage people to take care of the oceans, and whether it's donating to this or trying to be a good influence on other people, picking up trash, I think it's really important. I'm going to just put on some scuba videos that I've shot in the background. Let me see if that's actually picking up the audio. It's not, so that's fine. I just want to make sure that the audio wasn't going through for a second. But yeah, so you can see that underwater life has been a really important part of who I am. And it's I really encourage people to take care of the ocean, and any help and support that people can do would be huge. And this is a great charity, but if you want to give to other charities, that would work. I don't know why it's not working right. Anyway, we'll do it like that. Thank you, Primordial Sounds, for still being here. Andy was a wonderful part of this raid train. I wanted to also put up on here, we had a goal. They've already raised $2,710. If you wanted to know more about the fundraiser and what we were doing, definitely go back and check out our show on Saturday. We did a 2-hour Power Play Point podcast live on this, and we talked about a lot of cool things. Yeah, that's why I was going to give people an opportunity if they had any questions about scuba diving or underwater sea life. I've been a master diver now for over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of really cool things. Some things are pretty scary, and I'm really excited that we got that far into that goal. And I'm just, people can still give for the next month or two. So that's why I'm encouraging people to do that. But I'll show a couple other, kind of cool videos if people are interested in seeing some of the scuba stuff, because a lot of people know me as a sports podcaster, and that's what this show is. But I've been an underwater videographer for a very long time. These are manta rays in Hawaii on a night dive. Also showing some of these pelagic magic dives. So this is a highlight reel done to the song Drowned by Hattie, who's one of my favorite Twitch streamers, who has just made recently a partner on this platform. I'll give him a shout out real quick. Hattie plays. And yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Melissa, that's great. And even just sharing this part of the VOD or talking about it with other people, I think we just don't talk about the world's oceans enough. And I think if people just have conversations about what they're doing, and they're conscientious of what they're putting into their water systems, and they're just trying, we're not going to win this all at once, but we can all do a little bit and do our part. So you're seeing lots of different cutaway shots. All this is edited to the music. This is one of my favorite shots that I ever got, was this turtle with the sun rays coming down. But these, the manta ray dives, I think, was super spectacular. One of the things that they also talk about with this organization is like phytoplankton, and how that can affect the sea life and around it. And Miamolo says, I know that my state is stopping the use of plastic bags and paper bags, I believe, May 4th. That's great. I think that, we've had a bag tax here in Maryland for a very long time, but there could be more. This dive was a really cool one. It's one of the coolest moments of my life, and I'm happy I got a chance to, but it was because we were able to generate light and phytoplankton, and these animals are able to come up and feed off that. And so we've created a symbiotic relationship, but it's important that we keep things like plankton and overfishing, and so that we can experience some of these incredible opportunities. I love these creatures. Manta rays are some of my favorite. You can see that I made merchandise around my favorite Caps player's name is Anthony Mantha, so I made a Mantha Ray merch, and kind of a play off of Manta Ray, and they're incredible creatures. I've gotten to do at nighttime. I've also gotten to do this pelagic magic one, which is really cool because these creatures come from a mile below, and you can see through them. And these are like the creatures you would have seen in primordial times, right? And so it's kind of a fun thing to be able to experience that in pitch black. It's kind of terrifying, but it was a incredible experience. And so if anybody wants to go through those or some of my other scuba things, it's all done to music. I'm looking forward this summer to go to Mexico and shoot some more videos and use some more Hattie tracks and some other tracks, some of my friends on Twitch, and that'll be really fun. And then this winter also try to go back to Cayman Island for a couple of weeks actually and do some more comprehensive video. And that'll be cool because we're kind of taking shots every couple of years, and we can see how coral bleach and the animals and how things differ on these reefs. And I can actually start to go back and now compare footage over time, which is really kind of cool. When I was a kid, I used to do some of that research underwater. And so it's kind of fun to be able to video it and be able to go back and do some of that. So yeah, if anyone wants to know more about that, go to youtube.com/RobbieGross. You can catch my entire all my scuba videos, as well as I do concert videos from lots of different concerts over the last 12 years. I also do family vlogs. I released one actually yesterday of a cute my family at Easter. It's a fun, cute family vlog that I do to music of Twitch streamers. That one's done to Carly Sings, our mod on this channel. Also, if you check out Carly's YouTube channel, I just did her music video for Wasted, which is her very first single. So go check that out as well. I did a lyric video with her, and it's getting some good traction on YouTube. So I appreciate everyone for streaming that and for streaming her song live. She'll be live tomorrow at 10 o'clock on her channel. So definitely go check out Carly Sings. And I know Meow the Lizard, you and I both spent a lot of time at Willow Keys stream. I know that he stopped by yesterday and rated in at the end. I was actually on We Speak English's good channel last night. I'll give him a quick shout out. And he did an amazing podcast. And I really hope that people go back and do that. I was on for 3 hours with him talking about scuba diving and some of this stuff, much more in depth. But I also talk about sports podcasting, my life in politics before this, all different topics. Definitely go check out that 3.5 hour show if you have time on We Speak English Good. It was a really great one. I also did a great Power Play Point podcast on this channel on Saturday. So we've been busy. I've been making sure the VODs have been staying up so people missed any of that. It's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I appreciate music of many growing artists. I agree. That's one of the things I love about Twitch. Primordial Sounds, who was on earlier, is a mod here. He's a great musician. Carly's great too. And so many wonderful musicians on this platform. Josh Turkin, who was on earlier. It's hard to watch them all, but I've been enjoying their music, their journey, and a lot of them have been very nice, including Hattie and Josh and Carly, and letting me use some of their music in some of my videos. And so it's been cool to try to promote some of what they're doing as well, and it's sort of a symbiotic relationship with them, because I'm a videographer, but I don't have the rights to a lot of music, and so it's kind of cool to use their music in my art and kind of mix it together. I was a videographer when I was in college, and so it gives me that opportunity. But I really appreciate everyone for staying tuned on this little extra thing. Does anyone have any suggestion of who they would like to raid? We could do music, we could do art, we could do video games. I've got friends on a lot of different things. We have a lot of people online right now, but lots of awesome people. We could even, I know Meow the Lizard, you're a big fan of Willow Keys. We could go check out his gaming stream as well. Anybody that's in chat, first person to throw out an idea of what they want to go to, I'm down to go there. And Mimolo says, yeah, Twitch has some wonderful people here, gaming, IRL stuff, music, any of it. Yeah, incredible. It's been a blessing. I can't believe that I've gotten to now mod for 12 people. No, 18 people now. Yikes. So it's a lot. So you'd say, well, yeah, I figured you would. So let's get that all. Yeah, so that's fair. Raid Willow Keys Gaming. Let's see if that works. Yes, that has worked. All right. Well, if anyone wants to check more, again, it's on my YouTube channel. All of the links, as always, are on sportsothp.com or webandgames.com. And that's awesome. Well, I appreciate it. All right, well, let's raid in, and thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.